All right. Hello, everyone. I'm pretty sure we are live, and I want to put the comments so I can see if people are commenting. So if you are here as you drop in, make sure you say hi. Tell us where you are listening from. So welcome to the coaching table, everyone. I'm Shelly Brown, as probably all of you who are going to be on live. Hi, Kathy Ellinger. You will know who I am. But I'm going to introduce our author guest in just one moment. She's not really a guest because she's in Book Marketing Pro Academy. She's one of us, but she is going to be she's in the coaching seat today. Hey, Liz Holtzman. So we're going to dive in today and share and actually process through a powerful strategy that can help Melissa, but also that can help you who are watching. Hey, Debbie Ashley from Ohio. So yeah, I want to welcome Melissa Harris to the, some call it a hot seat, but I kind of like to call it a love seat. You're in the love seat. So yeah, so Melissa, welcome to the coaching table.
Thank you. I appreciate the invitation.
Oh, I'm so glad you were able to join us for this. Yeah, Melissa has a house full of kids and they're all outside and playing in the water. And so they may make an appearance if she said, unless you're bleeding or don't come, but who knows? Anything can happen on these lives. So, yeah. So Melissa, before we dive in, I want to ask you two quick things. So one, for those who may not know about you or your book, tell us just real briefly, like in 20 to 30 seconds, give us an overview about your book, which was recently released. It's a pretty new release.
Yeah, it was released, I think maybe about 5 weeks ago now. But yeah, to give a very short version of the book, about 4.5 years ago, we were hiking and a tree branch fell and hit our daughter on the head. So it was a life and death journey for about 4 hours getting to the hospital, and then the subsequent journey from there. So the story just tells what we believe is a miracle, but also just from my perspective of dealing with such tragedy as a parent. The book's called Rewrite This Tragedy, which perfectly encapsulates what we feel like it was. It was a tragedy, and we believe that God intervened. So that is the very, very short version of our day that day.
Yeah. And several people who have read your book when they like couldn't put it down, and they said they cried, they laughed, it was just they couldn't put it down. So it really is an amazing book. And so okay, tell us, we're just going to dive right into the deep end of the pool. Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us, what has been your biggest challenge in getting your book in front of the right people, if any? Have you found it to be a challenge of getting your book in front of the right people?
To be totally honest, really, because the book came out and then I went to CPE down in Florida, I feel like I'm still in the very beginning stages of getting the book out there. So aside from like my husband and I have a pretty big community because he's a pastor part-time. He also teaches. So we have our church community. We have our friends actually from a previous church as well. We have our school. My husband teaches at a Christian school, so we have that community as well. So right now that's the main people that we've reached out to. But I just kind of started laying the groundwork for finding other ways to reach out through podcasts and through interviews, things like that. So when really this Sunday is the start of that, we're doing a launch at a coffee shop. So
awesome. Yeah. And I kind of call that what you just described, that low hanging fruit. Like it is your community. So you already have connections, right? You're already involved. They have great awareness. And actually with this story, you had where this incident happened, this tragedy happened, near tragedy happened. they've been supportive, right? Because it, was pretty, became quite known of what happened in that area, right?
Yeah, exactly. And this summer, we're planning on going and doing kind of another open house down in that area for the people of that community, for the EMS, all that. So that'll be the next kind of big move.
All right. Well, we're going to try to talk through some ways to strategically partner and forge partnerships with organizations, ministries, whatever that looks like, right? And so, again, like I just said, you've done pretty well with that low-hanging fruit. So you have already those partnerships, but let's kind of go outside of that and talk about ways to expand your reach. So to begin that, why don't you give us some insight as to who your ideal reader would be?
So that one, I've been asked that, and it's a little hard. It's a little hard for me to answer. Like, of course, the original are the people that already knew the story and that prayed for us. That is like my number one. But that's only so many. Of course, we had a ton of people for us. That it very much has a gospel message in it. So I would say primarily it would be people that know Christ and that pray and all of that. But I also already know a lot of people that have read it that don't have a relationship with Jesus. And that would be my ultimate, like, man, I'd love for somebody to read it and it would at least be the start of a relationship with God, or maybe, turn into someone accepting Christ. So I don't know. It's hard to really pinpoint who I think the book is for. And I don't know. So that's my best answer I can give you.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about that, because think about what your book, what need does it meet? Because you're telling your story. Right. You're telling, it's a very redemptive story. Matter of fact, your tagline is, the title is "Rewrite This Tragedy," and then your subtitle is "A Beautiful Story of God's Presence, Provision, and Divine Intervention." So it is a story of just miraculous divine intervention, God's provision, experiencing his presence in the midst of absolute, really horror and uncertainty, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what are the pain points that in that, we know your pain points were in there, I think, but what other people would be able to receive that's kind of universal through what you experienced through and your growth and your faith that really increased through this journey. So think about who needs that.
So yeah, I'm glad you asked that, because now that we're digging deeper, that is the whole, like again, the story was about Mia's story and her recovery and all that, but a lot of it was just my journey through it and my relationship with God, which I already had. And in my life, because I never had any like just major thing happen in my life. And I remember always thinking, is my faith real? Like if something really, really bad happened, how would I respond? And so this experience obviously answered that question for me. And so really, I think anybody that's gone through any difficulty, maybe something as tragic as what we went through, or even just a really difficult time that they've walked through, I think it can help them kind of, which I am not an open book as a person, but obviously I became an open book because I wrote a book. But just sharing my thoughts all throughout. I mean, at moments blaming God for what happened, but very quickly coming back to like reason of like, I know this isn't God's fault. I know this life isn't perfect. I know that, right? But having my moments being angry and questioning, we thought we were good parents. We were raising your kids, our kids to love the Lord. So why would you do this? I mean, it's such a freak accident. Is how easily and quickly could you have just snapped your fingers and made it not happen, or made the tree branch fall sooner, or made, so a lot of just wrestling with those kind of questions. But then there were times when there was just like these moments of just peace that I can't explain. And I talk about it in the book of even when I was in the woods with her alone, just very quickly coming to terms with this is happening. Like, we're going to lose our daughter, and truly believing that and having every reason to believe that. Mm-hmm. But being able to just step away from the situation, step back and say, I know that this world is not it. I know that this world is temporary. And so even if Mia goes to be with Jesus, that's not it. We will see her again someday. I can't lose my relationship with God and lose my right. So there's just so much of that wrestling with what I know to be true, but also being human and being angry, sad, and frustrated, and you know, why did this happen? Right. So really, I think anybody that has gone through anything is just this battle with your faith of who God is, you know, and what he really means to us. And I think that's, for me, the throughout the whole book, the baseline is just, man, God was there, and he was there. The people that prayed, he was there through bringing the EMS and the doctors and nurses. I actually talk about it in the book of just all these little miracles along the way that I think brought up the conclusion that ended, which is Mia running around somewhere around here right now, playing with friends.
Right.
Yeah. So, so I don't know. I went off, but hopefully
that's okay. No, I think that gives some good insight, and perhaps even gives you some clarity as to who your book is for, and how it can minister to anyone who's experienced tragedy, who's experienced really painful circumstances, who has really wrestled with their faith and they're struggling. Perhaps they're still there, or they have not yet come to the end of that, where they're at peace and it's grown their trust. So you know who the audience is, right? And I'm telling you, as I hear you, they're in our churches. Your audience is in our churches. Your audience. So we're going to talk a little bit about that next. So let me go into this next question. And so, based on all of that, of who your reader, your ideal reader is, and who would need your book, think about what types of organizations or ministries or groups already serve this audience.
Can you think? Like churches, obviously. And I've thought about, like, the hospital. I haven't reached out to them yet, but the hospital that we were at, you know, I don't know if there's an angle there of that was one of the things when we were at Nationwide, and just walking around the halls praying, just getting out of the room because it was during COVID and you pretty much were trapped. Seeing other parents there, you know, and some parents that are the initial part of our journey was over in 3.5 weeks. Some parents are there for 6 months, you know, in battling cancers or battling, you know, longer diseases and things than we even had to battle. So yeah, I'm trying to think of.
I think hospitals is a great, and so let me just pause 1 second. And anyone in the comments, if you have ideas as we're talking through this, feel free to drop it in the comments, and hopefully I'll see it. Let me see. Liz Holtzman says, anyone who wants to hear how God showed up in a dramatic story. Yeah, definitely audience. So I like the idea about the hospitals. There's chaplains that go room to room, and they don't, you know, everybody in a hospital is not a believer, obviously, so they don't have to go there and receive it. But let me tell you something. There's something about your uncertainty and facing your own mortality or the mortality of your child or a family member, and going through a crisis like that God uses to draw, you know, people to himself. So give hope. And they have gift shops, they have chaplains. So really thinking through that. So maybe file that away for something as you start making your list of partnerships that you could forge. You know, what are your local hospitals? And then outside of your own geographical area, I know, like in the state of Florida, we have our largest healthcare system is a Christian healthcare system. It's nonprofit and it's the largest one in Florida. And so, connecting with, I don't know other states that have their primary healthcare system is a faith-based healthcare system, but really brainstorming, doing some research on that and seeing how you can connect with them. I think that's a phenomenal idea.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And Debbie Ashley said MOPS groups or other groups for moms.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So MOPS groups, other nonprofits, I don't know what that would look like. You'd have to do some digging and some research. Let's see. Kathy says there are groups for those who have been through tragedies, even on Facebook. So local gifts, bookstores, radio stations who like to do things with local authors. Let me just put these up here so that people can see it in the recording if they come back and watch the replay. So, yeah, churches, as you said, obviously churches, women's groups, let me see, support groups. I think, let me see, Kathy mentioned that groups who that support those who have been through tragedies. So
those are all great ideas. Yeah.
Yeah. Doing a brain dump of all of these different groups and organizations and ministries. The key in it is it needs to be the right one, right? They need to have your audience. Right, so it's leveraging other people's audiences. And we've talked about this before, particularly like podcasts. There are so many online and offline who already have your audience. So you don't have to have a huge audience and following of your own. You leverage other people's audiences and get in front of their audiences. And it doesn't cost you a dime except for, typically doesn't cost you a dime except for your time investment of figuring out where they are and how to reach them. Right.
Oh, that's awesome.
All right. Okay. So figuring out what types of organizations serve your audience. Let's see. Then figuring out where they are, like I just said. So are they online? Do they have an online presence? Do they have email lists? Do they have events? Is it a podcast? So because your approach is going to be different depending on where their audience is. Right. So figuring that out. And so then the next question for you would be, have you connected with any of these organizations before? So I know you have your connections that you personally have connected with, but outside of that, have you begun to branch out of those?
No, not yet. And that's kind of the next phase. And honestly, probably the bigger part of that will all happen when summer hits, because I still homeschool one of our children, and then my husband teaches. So we have the whole summer, and actually we're talking about trying to figure out this summer of doing a lot of going around speaking, just trying to visit different bookstores, things like that, and doing a lot of this, which this timing is perfect. And this is so helpful to really think through all of these things that I can be doing. I've been contacting, radio stations, podcasts, and I've got a few things lined up. But yeah, all of this is going even deeper than I had even thought about doing.
Yeah. And that's good, because right now you can start laying the groundwork and doing your research so that when summer hits and y'all are home free, you can hit the ground running. So get everything ready, and then you just know when you're going to launch into this. But in the meantime, you can start already contacting them, so that and I would highly recommend that start contacting them. But let me back up first. So I'm going to give you some action steps for this particular step. Okay. And you can watch the replay, so you don't have to take copious notes on this.
Because I don't have a computer, so
that's okay. Just catch the replay. So I highly recommend that you figure out at 5 to 7, and I would actually say maybe 10 or more, but the more the best, but no less than 5 or 7 potential organizations, influencers, groups, podcasts, whatever that looks like. And you just do your research on them. So make your list. And again, start with that low hanging fruit, because there might be some that you are aware of that maybe you haven't reached out to. So do a brain dump of any other connections that like, I haven't reached out to them. Or also a low hanging fruit would be, could be where you have a connection, like somebody can, has a connection with that particular ministry or that group, right? So think through that and see if there's any where referrals always are best, where save the cold calls and the outreach for your, like, you have to do that ultimately, but first start with the low hanging fruit, right? When you either know them personally or you have a connection with them. So make that list. And then figure out the best way to reach out to them and contact them.
Yeah.
So that's the first action steps, I think, for reaching out and figuring out who you're going to try to forge that partnership with outside of who you've already met with and have some, like you have something this Sunday coming up. So
yeah, I'm excited for that. And then again, going down to Hocking Hills. Well, one of the things when we went to Hocking Hills or we went back, someone said a phrase which was just really interesting, and I think it was face to face. I can't remember now, but they said Hocking Hills is praying for you, almost like Hocking Hills was like a person. But it's just because it's such a tight knit community. I guarantee you, by the end of that day, everybody knew what happened there. So I'm excited to really brainstorm what that is going to look like, how we can reach as many people as possible, and then just to share the story. And I'm sure a lot of people were praying and would love to even just, see her, meet her, hear some more of the story. The other thing too, it's in the area. I went to Cedarville University here in Ohio. So I've already been in contact with them and trying to figure out, because I know they've got like publishing program and all that. So seeing if there's maybe I could go down there and speak to their classes or something along those lines as well. So that'll be a summer thing as well.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. My biggest encouragement to you and all of that is start prepping now. Start getting all the groundwork laid now so that when summer hits, you can just, I think you had mentioned when I talked to you a few weeks ago at CPE, getting an RV or doing something and just traveling and just having your stops.
I'm like, come on, let's make it happen.
Let's do it. That would be amazing.
And when I say summer, I do mean like doing all that in the summer, but hopefully here now, like you're saying, laying all the groundwork for all stuff and having a plan in place. Because summer seems long and then it's gone. So it'll happen fast. Yeah.
And, and I know that works with your schedule, and that will be in your early on in your launch. So summer just makes sense. But also remember that this is a marathon that, particularly this first full year, you're going to be doing. I highly recommend that you do something, at least one thing every single week, even if it's a little tiny thing, to market your book. Just one thing. And you'll start to see that needle move. And but come fall, there's a lot going on in the fall as well. And I know with having kids and homeschooling, it's busy because you're in parent mode, mama mode, as well. And your husband's going back to school, but that's where a lot of opportunity happens as well. That's where the ladies retreats and the schools, they have lecturers come in during the fall. So there's a lot of opportunity in the fall to really consider and be prepared for. So think through that, of what opportunities that looks like and what you can fit into your schedule come fall.
Yeah, that's great. And that was something I was going to share. I talked with a guy, he's an entrepreneur, and he wrote a book down in Florida. He's a friend of a friend. And he said it's a 2-year thing. He's like, don't think of a book launch as 1 month. I hope my dog's not too loud.
Right. Can you hear? We can hear, but that's okay.
I should have put her up. But he said, he's like, a book launch is 2 years. He's like, don't think of it as 1 month or 6 weeks. Right. stall out, he went on what he called a 2-year. Can you guys hear me? Is my dog
Yeah, we can hear you, but we can hear the dog too. But carry on.
So yeah, pretty much a 2-year book launch where he said he went around and did what he called a thank you tour. Now his thing was a little bit different, but I do think of it that way. And he specifically said, he's like, do not rely on your publisher to do all your marketing. Right. And I think that's big. Not that you guys don't do stuff with that, but yeah, that's a big deal, is to see it as your, not burden, but your thing. This is your book, your products. I remember Athena saying at CPE, she said the saddest thing is to see somebody work so hard and do all of this to get their message out there, and then they just stop, know. Yeah.
Yeah. And marketing is, and some that are on this live right now will attest to this. Those who have already got their book is already out there. The hard work begins once your book releases, and it's hard work writing the book and getting the book published. But the real work begins once it's out there. And we're a collaborative hybrid publisher, and but even the traditional, the big 5 publishers, unless you're the president of the United States or you're some big old celebrity, A-lister, you have to do your marketing. You do your own marketing. And so we have an agent with one of the larger Christian publishers who said that Redemption Press does more for their authors in marketing than they do. They hadn't seen anything like it, because we don't do everything for you, but we help equip you, right? So we walk you. We don't just drop you.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you guys have got this. What? Sorry about Molly. Yeah, can you put her up? Yeah, I'm so sorry.
That's right.
Sorry, I knew it would happen at least once, but he did. As for Molly, I'm like, put her up.
Put her.
So yeah, and certainly not say you guys are doing a phenomenal job, but just pretty much, I would say, I haven't worked with any other publishers, but from what I've heard, by far you guys do top notch when it comes to all of it. Yeah, and even just this, I mean, this is like a gift to be able to have the opportunity to just get your expertise and so many things I haven't thought of. So
well, I wasn't fishing for the compliment. I was actually trying to, I was affirming you in that, yes, y'all need to do your marketing, but we're here to support you through the marketing.
And absolutely. I felt that. So that I really appreciate it.
Oh, all right. So let's move on real quickly, because now once you have your list and you know who you want to approach, you have to craft a outreach strategy. So, and the messaging, right? So, and this is about building relationships. It's not, I'm always about, kind of beat this drum. It's never about us. It's always about them. How can we serve them? How can we serve our, their audience? What value can we bring to them? So even in forging these partnerships, as you craft your messaging and say, hey, I have this book, and you tell them about your book, it's the value that you are going to bring that you can pour in and serve their audience with, right? So crafting that message is going to be essential, and you make it super personal, and know who you're talking to. Know, like, if it's a ministry and you don't have a connection and it's a cold call, learn about them, right? Because you want to mention that in your messaging to them. You don't want to just come and say, hey, I want to come talk to your people, and because I have this book out, but really I acknowledge and say how much you appreciate their ministry and their heart, and that there's an alignment with your message, and you believe that your message in your book, and you list several things of that would really transform or enrich the lives of their audience. So crafting that message is going to be super important as you reach out to them. And figure out too, what are you asking them for? So are you, for instance, because your messaging is going to be different depending on what you're asking and what your hope is. Are you looking for this group to buy in bulk, right? Because like a college or a ladies ministry. Do you want to have an opportunity to speak? Right. We've talked about that before, some about getting speaking opportunities, being on a podcast interview, right? Again, it's about them. So your next step and your action step is going to be, you got to craft that message for them.
Yeah.
And I'll read, because I have written up just an example outreach message, and I'll put it also in the comments. So anyone who's listening or watches this later, they can take this, but this is very much for a cold outreach. So it's somebody that you don't have a relationship with. So it may not be as warm as you would craft for somebody that you have some kind of connection with. So it would be something like this. This is just an example. Okay. Hi, insert their name. I admire the work that you do with and whatever ministry or organization. And then you go into my book, Rewrite This Tragedy, aligns with your mission by offering hope and encouragement to those experiencing, and you insert your pain points, just a few bullet points. I'd love to collaborate in a way that serves you and your community, or your people, however you would want to call them, whether through a book giveaway, bulk purchase for your group, or a live discussion, or your podcast, whatever that looks like. Let me know what would be most valuable to you. So just crafting that message to them. Again, that's more for a cold outreach where you really don't have that connection yet.
No, that sounds great.
All right. So, and I'm going through these very quickly because we're at the half an hour mark, and I don't want to keep everybody too terribly long, but I do want to give action steps for these. So the action step for that, your next step, would be to draft your outreach message. And again, knowing your audience, knowing who you're reaching out to is super important, because your message is going to be different for each of them, right? So, you have your basic framework of what you want to convey.
Yeah,
but
I'm saying, you'll tweak it depending on who you're sending it to, and what they need.
Right. Yeah. And even another thing is sending a copy to certain people, a gift wrapped copy of your book with the notes. So instead of just the email, or again, it has to be to the right person, right? So sending that copy of the book to the right person can really have a ripple effect.
Yeah, we've already started doing that, because I bought some more too. So, and there's definitely an investment side of it too. You have the original investment of writing the book, and then now the investment of sending out some free copies with a handwritten note. And,
right.
Yeah, so we've started that process. I ordered another good bunch of books, so
yeah,
we'll
good.
continue down that path too.
Yeah, and when you do that, again, the key is making sure you're sending it to the right people, because all it takes is getting it into the right one person's hand, just that one person into the right hand, and could literally produce hundreds and thousands of sales as a result. Yeah. So you just never know. So if you're able to have some inventory on hand, and for that purpose of being able to gift a copy, and again, making sure that it's the right person. And there's two things. I always have this caveat with it, because it is given to the right person strategically, with great purpose, but also being sensitive to the Holy Spirit, that when, is he leading you to, there may not be anything in it for you or return, but having that, and because he'll put somebody on your mind. So I always like to have copies just for those reasons, because God has a purpose in that too, right? But for the purpose of this strategy, having copies and just having it available and giving it to the right person is going to be the key.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so we're going to wrap this up with the final, some final thoughts with this. So once you reach out, the key is going to be to follow up and stay connected with them, because many partnerships happen because of persistence, not the first email. Right. So,
Yeah,
and it's not about being annoying and being like, you know what I mean? But
yeah.
it's
Yeah,
often
that's a
not.
bit of a struggle for me because I am like not a, and not I'm saying that we have to be salesmen, but the second I feel like somebody's not interested, I'm
I
out.
know.
Like
I know.
so I'm gonna have to be a little bit more and to go back to your point about the leading of the Holy Spirit, to me
Yeah.
that's huge. Like,
Yeah.
and just praying over constantly,
Right.
of who I should connect with and who needs it. And yeah, sometimes it's a free copy and sometimes, which I would love to give everybody a free copy, but I can't do that. So I've got to be careful to be discerning
Sure.
and
Yeah.
when somebody can pay for an $18 book and when I should give it to them. Right. So,
Exactly.
so yeah,
Exactly.
I think the leading of the Holy Spirit is probably obviously number one. And from there,
Absolutely.
but we also can't just sit around and wait. Cause that was jokingly, I'm like, all right, God, I wrote the book. If you want to do something with it, you can, right? So, but obviously we need to do our part and yeah, get things in motion. So
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And even in that, Melissa, you know, because I completely understand, like, okay, didn't respond. Clearly they're not interested, right?
yeah,
But even
yeah.
in that, just pray through it and allow the Holy Spirit to, like, if I think he will give you a sense in your spirit as you're seeking him on this, is like, yeah, okay, hard stop. Let's move on. But don't discount people because they didn't respond on that first one, because people are busy, right?
Mm-hmm.
They get sidetracked. It's their inboxes are full, their mailboxes are full. And so they put it aside. I am so guilty of this. And my lack of response does not mean my lack of interest or care. It's just like, ooh, I can't do it right now, but I will at some point. And sometimes that other prompt is what's going to send us over to make that next move and
Mm-hmm.
respond. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, you're right. Yep. Yeah. So I need to just be a little bit more bold.
Yeah, it's hard. I know, especially when
That,
you're wired differently like me,
yeah,
because I'm
for
the
sure.
same way. We're
And
wired that
like
way.
you said, the harder part is now writing the book. I'm like, I got to sit at a
Oh,
coffee shop a lot and write, quietly.
yeah.
I'm not saying it was easy, but this is definitely the more challenging side.
Yeah. Yeah, this is for sure. And so as you do all of this and you send out your outreach, you need to do a follow-up 7 days after about 7 days, and you feel compelled, do a follow-up, okay, with them.
Mhm.
And uh, I have a note here. Um, some of your best connections may take a few months to develop. So just stay consistent and
Mhm.
continue to nurture those relationships. Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah. So I'm going to wrap it up with this. I think that this is my second wrap up. I'm going to wrap it up with this. Just to recap, if it's okay, recap what we have talked about. Um, so here's your action plan. All right.
Mhm.
4 steps. Number 1, identify your potential partners. So 5 to 7, but do as many as you can.
Mhm.
Write and send personalized outreach messages as soon as you're ready and you've crafted that message. Take action on it. Then follow up when you don't receive a response. Follow up. I would follow up with all of them at least once.
Okay.
And then
Yeah.
some of them, there will be, where you'll want to do more follow up. But I would follow up with everyone that you don't receive a response to, and then just continue building those relationships beyond the launch. Not everybody's going to respond, but you'll have the ones who do. Those are going to be some of your most valuable connections
Mhm.
and partnerships. So, yeah. So, do you have any questions or thoughts
Yeah.
to round it
You know,
out?
I Yeah, not really. As far as questions, no, because really everything's just been so thorough along the way. I think it's just a matter of doing it, right? The action steps.
Yeah.
Every
Right.
day, just doing even something small, which some days, but I feel like, you said once a week, doing something. But yeah, I just think, to whoever's watching or whoever will watch, just the encouragement to see it as the marathon, like you said. So, I mean, it's been 5 weeks, and even, like trying to get reviews on Amazon. And I know that's not like the huge thing, but just this constant, someone enjoyed the book. Oh, that's awesome. That, it would really help get it in front of more readers, is if you write a review for me, like those kind of things are just constantly following up. But I think just bathing everything in prayer, because that's the whole reason this book got written is I felt like God wanted me to write it, and it was an investment, and we weren't sure how we were going to make it and how we were going to pay for it and all that, but God provided along the way. So it was just very clear. And he will continue to. So as long as I do my part and don't expect him to sell my books, I think we'll be good.
Yes. And it's just stewarding what he has entrusted to you.
Exactly.
So, you're not just promoting, and this is for Melissa, and this is for everyone listening to this. You're not just promoting a book, you're creating kingdom impact by connecting with the right people. And so think about it from that perspective, that this is kingdom impact, and getting it out, and God will get it in the hands of those who need it the most, and maybe even those who don't even know they need it. He just has a way of doing that. So it's our job to be faithful and to steward what he's entrusted us with. And you're doing that. So well done.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. And for those of you who are not in the Book Marketing Pro Academy, I would love to invite you to check us out at bookmarketingproacademy.com. And this is a training that we have. All of these trainings and coaching sessions are live for everybody to watch. You don't have to be a member to take advantage of these trainings, but we have coaching inside the group that is more private and more intense. And so you are welcome. You do not have to be a Redemption Press author to be a part of the Academy. So everyone is welcome. And so, Melissa, thank you again. It was a joy having you. God bless you. And you're welcome. And God bless everyone for watching. Till next time. Bye.
All right. Bye.